Whoa, that is gonna be the sickest shot right there.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Perfect Ride series. We are out here with the brand new Lectric XPedition 2.0. Lots of really cool upgrades here. This is going to be a little bit less of our traditional Perfect Ride series where we go through, use case, price point, all that good stuff. We will cover a little bit of that here, but we are out here in Phoenix, Arizona for Lectric's Media Day. A lot of influencers come in, they film a bunch of stuff, and it's just a little bit of a different feel. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the big specs here, some of the upgrades. If you're somebody that already likes the XPedition, there's a lot of things I think you're really gonna like here on the 2.0. So let's get into it. The first thing we're gonna talk about is the price here. Now there is 3 different versions. We have the standard 13 amp hour battery at $13.99. That's gonna get you about 75 miles of range. You do have the long range version for $16.99. You get dual 13 amp hour batteries for about 150 miles of range. And then they've got the long range mega dual package, which is $19.99. That has dual 17.5 amp hour batteries, and that's gonna get you about 220 miles of range. Now, something to note here is they are not changing the price versus the XPedition 1.0. So if you like that bike, you like that price point, this really is an exciting upgrade in my opinion. And so we talked about the price. Now let's talk about a little bit of the use case. As far as use cases go, it's a cargo bike, right? So there is a certain type of person that would use this as a cargo bike. Now, it is a long tail cargo bike, so it's not compact. You can easily fit 2 kids on the back of here, or 2 small teenagers, maybe, something like that. But it has a total capacity of 450 pounds. So whether you are using this to haul around people, or you're gonna get some big cargo baskets and you're gonna use this to do Uber Eats or just pick up your own groceries, there really is quite a few options as far as that goes. Now the caveat there is most people look at a cargo bike and they assume it doesn't handle very well, probably feels more like driving a boat. And I've already ridden this quite a bit today, put some miles on it next to the canal, and my biggest 2 takeaways were, the first one is, it does not handle or maneuver like a boat. Really, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between this and the XP Lite 2.0, in my opinion. It handles really well, stops really well. I felt like I had complete control of the bike the whole time. And the second one for me is just the takeoff here. So even with the throttle, the amount of torque you get off there from the bottom line is pretty impressive. As far as the ride feel goes, definitely doesn't handle like a traditional cargo bike. So this is something where you're gonna be using it for, picking up kids, picking up groceries, transporting people around. Like it's a really solid bike for that. And it does have a few extra cool features we'll get to in a little bit that kind of unlock some of those possibilities for you. Next, let's chat about some of the main specs, right? This is a new bike. There's probably a lot of reviews that launched either today or around the same time period because there's a lot of people here. So let's talk about some of the main specs of the bike without going into too much detail here. So in the rear, we've got a 750 watt motor. This is the M24 motor that Lectric's been talking about. Now this is a pretty quiet motor. I know there were some of the pre-productions of the Express, for example, where people were complaining about the motor noise. Very difficult to hear any motor noise here. So at least the version that I got, it does feel quiet. It does feel like it's got the stealth technology, which is what they market that as. So we talked about the torque a little bit. It's got some great off-the-line speed. It also is a torque sensor instead of a cadence. But one of the things that they did was they fine-tuned the torque sensor to where you kind of have 2 options. You can use it like more of a traditional torque sensor feel, where you are putting in a little bit more effort. It's a little bit more of a traditional ride. But they also have a couple settings you can go into the display and adjust that makes it feel a little bit more like a cadence with all of the benefits of torque. So it's a very interesting ride feel. Right now, the way we've been riding around, we do have that unlocked or changed so that we do have to put in a little bit less and we get a little bit more of the motor. So it does have quite a bit of power as far as that goes. Now, as far as battery goes, we did talk about that in the price section a little bit. That is pretty much how you're determining how much this bike costs you. It's either gonna come with a single 13, dual 13s, or those dual 17.5 amp hour batteries. Now, those will just gonna sit right behind the down tube like this. I believe this is the dual 13 amp hour version right here. I can double check that, but it's gonna look pretty much the same. Those 17.5 amp hour batteries might be slightly larger, but they are gonna fit into the same spot. So from a visual perspective, you kind of get a good feel of how it would look with any of those packages. The other big thing here for, Lectric's been doing this for a couple of years, but they do have full hydraulic brakes on here, which is definitely something you want on a bike that can handle 450 pounds. Like if there's mechanical brakes on here, that wouldn't be very good, but we do have some really nice hydraulic brakes. I mean, I can skid with these things. They stop really well. Definitely a lot of control. So one of the highlights from a safety perspective for me is the fact that we do have hydraulic brakes here in combination with a locking grip. As you guys have seen, any of my videos, you'll know that that's kind of my usual complaint when bikes don't have locking grips. Normally we're in Houston, Texas, we're in Phoenix today, and it's even hotter here. So some of those plastic grips that don't, or some of those rubberized grips that don't have locking mechanisms, they're gonna heat up and they're gonna get, loosey-goosey. So the fact that we do have locking grips here, I think is pretty sweet. Another great upgrade, in my opinion, is the fact that we do have 8 gears here. So we've got 8 gears, trigger shifters, Shimano Altus there in the rear. So it does allow you to, climb hills a little bit better. And we haven't tested a whole lot of hill climbing like we did with the X Peak, which we climbed mountains with that thing. But so far in some of the uphills we've been able to do, it has been, in my opinion, very capable of climbing those hills. Giving us a bigger gear range is also gonna be nice. And if you have it in 8th gear, you don't get any ghost pedaling here, which is nice. So if you got an 8th gear, you're going 28, 29 miles per hour, which 29 I think was my top speed when I was out there by the canal earlier. No ghost pedaling. A little bit quick from a cadence perspective, but I mean, just barely. I'd probably like to pedal just a little bit slower, but definitely not anything close to what I would call ghost pedaling here. The other nice feature here is we do have integrated lights. So we've got integrated front light and integrated rear light with braking integration. So when you're pressing on those brakes, the lights are gonna come on, letting people know you're coming to a stop. So from a safety perspective, I think they did a lot of the right things. We do have sidewall reflective stripes as well. So if you're riding around at night, you've got your front light pointing to the front, your rear light goes to the rear, and if somebody comes up you from the side, you are gonna see these sidewall reflective stripes light you up like a Christmas tree. So an excellent safety feature to see on these tires here. Speaking of the tires, these are 20 by 2.5 inch tires, which are different than the original XPedition. The original XPedition had 20 by 3 inch tires, and these ones are a little bit smaller, but still thick enough to make it feel like it's got a little bit of beef to it. I think that's probably one of the main reasons. I think there's a couple things with the geometry they did right here, but I think one of the main reasons it feels so nimble and it feels like you have so much control is those 2.5 inch tires. So all in all, enjoying the bike and the ride feel quite a bit, but we're gonna go do some more riding with Andrew from Freshly Charged, and we'll see what sort of trouble we can get into, so stay tuned for that. All right guys, we are out here in warm and toasty Phoenix, Arizona on the XPedition 2, and we're just gonna be riding around, seeing how she performs. Right now I'm just using the throttle, getting us up to that 20 miles per hour. This thing is cruising. Also, having the front suspension here has turned this into quite an enjoyable ride. And these tires, which are a little bit smaller than the original XPedition, definitely seem like they are, look at that control. It's very easy to maneuver. It really doesn't feel long. Obviously, when you look at it, it looks pretty long, but feels great, handles really well. And again, we're just using throttle at this point. Let's see here. Don't really know exactly where we're going, so let's see. We are in pedal assist level 5, using the torque sensor here. As far as the gearing goes, it feels like they got the gearing pretty good. We're in 8th gear, decent pedal cadence, and we're hitting 28 pretty easily. Got a horse crossing over here. So I think the things that really strike me right out the gate are the maneuverability of it and the torque off the line. I'm looking for Glendale. I think that's what they said. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been really impressed with the new Lectrics. Going back to the Express, and here on the XPedition 2.0 and the XPeak 2.0. Oh, we're hitting a little bump here. Oh, easy. So one of the things that I've been really impressed with is the torque sensor on here. They really have it dialed. And one of the things that Levi said, who's their CEO, he likes to go fast. So he didn't like some of the traditional torque sensor programs that you had to put in a ton of work. Oh, cool. Look at this. So he likes to go fast. So what they did here is they do have a couple of different options. If you want to put in more effort, you can do that. There's a couple options for that. But if you just want to, you know, not put in as much effort and get that torque off the line, you can do that as well. Oh yeah, baby. Woo! That's fun. All right, a little bit of a heel here. Let's see how it handles it. Oh, like it wasn't even there. That's impressive. That's quite impressive. Now cruising. On your left. And now we are wide open field here. Hitting that 28 miles per hour pretty easily. Oh, I'm losing water bottles. I'm losing water bottles. Left and right. Left and right. Go ahead and brake check here. Oh, easy. Now, if you really are carrying around your family members here, you definitely want the hydraulic brakes, because that is the way to go. This is the part of the video where we run around and pick up water bottles that fell out of my bag. Hey guys, just taking a quick break from our ride down the canal over here in Phoenix. We are on the XPedition 2.0, and I wanted to touch on some of the features that we haven't touched on yet, just some of the small kind of interesting details that you might find interesting. So let's do that. The first one is going to be this quick adjust stem. A little bit hard to do with one hand, because once you undo this button, you pull this guy out, and then your headset is going to be able to adjust, and your handlebars also adjust at the same time. So what's really nice about that is if you have something, like there's a lot of adjustable stems out there, you adjust the stem, but the handlebars are clamped into the headset. So it's very difficult for you to adjust it. It's not very difficult. I mean, it's not this easy. You know, you got to take out these 4 bolts, then you got to adjust the handlebars. And with this one, it does both of those at the exact same time, which I think is really interesting. So that's nice. You can also fold this down. So you just pull this little lever here, pop this down, and then it can fold, which brings down, I mean, it's still long, right? We're not going to get away from the length, and you wouldn't want to on a cargo bike. But if you have to transport it, you know, in a truck or something like that, and you want to put those handlebars down so you're not catching wind, or maybe you could slide this into a longer SUV. Like I've got a Subaru Outback 2020. This might fit, it might fit in the back, just putting down one of the seats, one of the double seats on the side. So that might be interesting. I have to really look at those dimensions before I, you know, make the claim for sure, but it is nice that you have this option here. So you slide this bad boy back, boom, you're locked in, ready to roll. The front suspension here, the Courier 50, is honestly pretty darn handy. We got the through axle here, which makes assembling this thing super easy. I think they say it's like a toolless 2-minute, 3-minute, whatever assembly. Basically, you take the bike out of the box, take off all the packaging, you know, throw this through axle through here, put it in here, and then kaboom, you're gonna be ready to roll after that. So they kept it really simple. Through axle is awesome, especially because we are gonna be having a lot of weight on this bike, and just having something that's a little bit more robust like a through axle I think is an excellent addition here. The shocks themselves, we've got preload adjustments on both sides, so it's a dual coil setup here. Now the original XPedition did not have any suspension at all, and I've ridden that. This compared to that is just night and day difference as far as comfort and really ride feel goes. So the fact that we got 50 millimeters of suspension there is super nice. 50 millimeters is nothing crazy. You know, usually we're looking at like 80, 120 if you're kind of from the mountain bike side, so 50 seems a little bit low. For what you're doing and where you're gonna be riding this thing, like we've got street treads, right? So this is not meant for, you know, off-road. We're not taking it to the places we took the X-Peak yesterday. So really you just need enough suspension to be comfortable. Now the other thing that you could do, if you don't need the telescoping seat post for whatever reason, you could also put a seat post suspension here. That would be pretty interesting. If you're looking for comfort, you do have enough up here. It kind of keeps your wrists and shoulders, you know, enough give up there. And then if you had your own suspension right here, I think that would be pretty interesting. So that might be a nice upgrade to look at doing if you really are going for comfort. We do have Lectric's kind of signature quick release pedals here, which as I've been informed is good for thievery, or if you just need to pop it off real quick for, you know, whatever reason, if you're transporting it. Would be probably a little bit better to have the weight supported by your whole crank if you're laying it on the side for some reason. So maybe there's that as well. We do have that. We do have spots down here to put on the running boards. So if you are gonna have passengers, you get the pads here, and then you've got running boards that install right here. They stick out right about here to here. So obviously somebody can put their feet down on those and stay stable. We've got our rear light back here. And one of the things that I don't think talked about yet is the fact that we have turn signals. So as you can see right here, we got our left turn signal turned on. Now, just from looking at the camera, it looks like that light's a little bit darker in camera than it is in real life. Not insanely bright, but it's enough, I think, to be noticed, which is kind of what you're after. You do have an indicator down here. If you can see that, there's an indicator there, and that's going to let people know that you're turning. So a lot of nice safety features. Definitely something that would be good for families. If you wanted to get a bike and you wanted to haul, you know, your 2 kids around, this is something that has a lot of those safety features that you would want. Sidewall reflective stripes, integrated braking, integrated lights. It has got the turn signals on it, locking grips. Everything about this bike just is very simple, and in my opinion, it's going to come off as being pretty safe. So far, pretty stoked with it. We are looking forward to doing a longer, more in-depth Perfect Ride Series review on it, where we'll, you know, it'll be longer. We'll go into more depth and stuff. But we're out here in Phoenix, Arizona, Electric Media Day, and yeah, let's get back to riding. All right, guys, we are out here next to the canals in Phoenix, and we are on the XPedition 2.0. We've got in pedal assist level 0, so let's go see if our throttle works. It does not, which is kind of nice, a little bit of a safety thing. If you were showing this bike to somebody, they hadn't been on an e-bike before, they might not be used to the throttle. Now with a half twist throttle, which is usually kind of over on this side, it's probably a little bit more common of occurrence because they just think it's the grip, and they might, you know, in this case, it might just pop off right into the canal. So with a thumb throttle, probably a little bit harder to hit, but if they're not used to it, then it's not gonna go anywhere. So let's put in pedal assist level 1, and let's see what it feels like. Go to a smaller gear here. Now, because this is a torque sensor, it doesn't have a defined top speed necessarily like cadence sensors do. So cadence sensor is all about rotation, and usually the pedal assist levels will just dictate how fast you go in that pedal assist level. With this one, with a torque sensor, you really do get a percentage of the motor. So right now we're pulling about 100-ish watts on average, you know, going at a nice easy pace, and we're getting about 10 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and do pedal assist level 2. Again, it's a torque sensor, so the more effort we put into it, the higher speed we get. And relatively easy effort, pulling about 300 watts. And that's taking me to about 15 miles per hour. So got a little bit of a downhill section, so let's hammer on the throttle here. See how she handles the uphill. Excellent. Now we were going a little bit faster than 20, so usually, or the throttle, it doesn't give you anything after 20. So once it got down below 20, then the throttle kicked in there as we're climbing up the hill, but pretty much steady. So let's go ahead and do pedal assist level 3. Pulling about 600 watts on average. And if we put in more effort, we could probably I mean, it looks like we're gonna hit about 20 miles an hour. We're in 8th gear now. 20 miles per hour is pretty easy. This is a nice, easy pace. So pretty easy. Let's go ahead and hit pedals level 4. Pulling about, I'd say 700 watts or so on average. It's jumping around a little bit. It's pretty good. Looks like he's got some headphones in. Try to avoid him. And then pedal assist level 5. You really feel the torque takeoff difference between 4 and 5. We're going into the wind here. And we should be able to hit 28 pretty easily. As far as the smoothness goes, it does feel very smooth. That torque sensor curve that they got in there. Throttle only. Probably about 3 miles per hour there. Nothing too crazy. Looks like the canal's gonna hit a road here. Do a brake test. Oh, easy peasy. It is pretty funny having the ability to basically skid stop and control this bike, because it is a longer bike, but again, with those 20-inch wheels, it just feels so nimble that if I didn't know I was on a cargo bike, it'd be very hard for me to tell that I was on a cargo bike. We got some twisted turns here on the pavement. None of that feels too fast whatsoever. All right, so let's go ahead and hop off the curb here. See how it does with like a little curb hopping. Oh, too easy. Again, it's really difficult to tell that we're on a cargo bike. Doesn't handle like a cargo bike, doesn't respond like a cargo bike, but we have got obviously a lot of options for tweaking this depending on your use case. If you want to carry around 2 kids, you got the new Orbiter 2 you can throw on the back of there. That thing seems to be pretty solid. From what I understand, they listened to a lot of feedback and made that what everybody who used the original Orbiter, you know, liked, didn't like. They switched that around, so hopefully that second version is going to be a really good upgrade for those people looking to upgrade. A cool little park over here. Now it's hot today. It's supposed to be like 110 degrees or something. Which is a little bit ridiculous. But there's no humidity, so it feels a little bit different. Yeah, go ahead and do a braking test again. Too easy. Well guys, I think that's going to do it for our ride test portion. Now we didn't take it on anything too crazy, but most people are not going to be taking this on anything too crazy. Well, to 450 pounds, you're probably going to be loading it down with stuff, especially if you are looking for a cargo bike. It's a pretty specific use case. And so the fact that it feels nothing like a cargo bike, handles nothing like a cargo bike, but you still have all the capabilities, it kind of seems like it's the best of both worlds. I don't have anything on the back right now, and I can ride this thing all day. Just cruising, feel like it's nimble, it's got the speeds that I'm looking for. But then if I wanted to, you know, I can throw this onto, or throw somebody on the back of it, and then we'd be good to go.